Welcome to Fintech TV. I'm Remy Blair. Joining me as the major U.S. stock averages hit new record highs is Alain Lawrence, who is CIO at Balfour Capital. Well, great to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, great being here like always, and thank you.
Well, here we are approaching the end of summer, nearly, but we are looking at the Dow, Nasdaq, S&P 500 hitting new record highs, and this does come on the heels of the latest inflation figures. So what does all of this mean? And with anticipation of Fed rate cuts, what can we expect in terms of market action?
Well, let me say this to you. Obviously, on a day like today, everybody's on their chair waiting for Trump and Putin to meet in Alaska. So I think that's going to be a very big focal point on not only inflation, but where the country is going to be deploying their assets on both parts. So I anticipate a tremendous amount of volatility going into September, October, and November.
Yeah, and what you just mentioned there, that summit between Trump and Putin, that is historical. And it also speaks to the fact that what we're seeing in the market, what we're seeing in the nation's capital, there's so many moving parts here. And even when you separate what's happening across asset classes, we're seeing a lot of volatility. So what does all of this mean as we head into the second half?
I'll tell you what it means. When you see the United States potentially making an investment in Intel, all right, it's telling you how interconnected the world really is, especially with all the blockchain, all right? And we're seeing that there's so many alternative assets and investment strategies that the public is starting to really get involved with, especially now a 401k, all right, can buy these alternative investments. So you're going to see a lot of influx in all kinds of different products. Even the NFT market, it's going to be a big market, especially in the high art world.
Yeah, and you just brought up an important point there, because earlier this week we saw Bitcoin hit new record highs above 124,000. And we were also looking at the other crypto major, ETH, approaching those record highs as well. But when we think about institutional demand, as well as a pro-crypto regulatory environment here in the US, what does that mean for investors who are still waiting on the sidelines?
I think the key is, when you deploy and get in, you're going to have to understand that you're in it for the long term. You're not going to be able to trade it, buy it at one and sell it at two. All right. And going back to diversification, for example, we're doing an NFT right now with a company called Sabatier out of Germany. They're a world-renowned art dealer. And what you have is the new guard working with the old guard, the father, son, and the whole family, selling very expensive pieces of art to the ultra high net worth community. So you're seeing how technology is affecting all global aspects, especially with blockchain and authentication. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah. And Steve, two things that you just mentioned there. So demographics, as well as generational wealth and access to investment. So when we're taking a step back, you also mentioned Germany. And when we look at the US versus, say, the rest of the world, Europe, in particular, Germany, growth versus value, what are we seeing in terms of geographic as well as those factors?
The market's going to come off, okay, just because it's gone up so fast and so quickly. I anticipate the market coming off around 2 to 4%, but it's a buy. But you have to be very, very strategic when you buy. For example, Buffett today bought a boatload of United Healthcare, but so did David Tepper.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got really institutional money, stepping in, and you're seeing it in all sectors. All right, so people are waiting for some sort of retracement because they don't want to miss the move. So the moral to the story is, be diversified. You can't just have one asset. You have to have multiple assets in a portfolio and have a long-term view.
So we've covered equities, we've touched on commodities. I do want to ask you about bonds, because that is something that we paid attention to the end of 2024 when the Fed began cutting rates in 2024. And there's this term that gets thrown around, bond vigilantes. What can we expect as we head into the rest of 2025?
Right now, there's inflation still.
Yeah.
But now that the Fed chairman, his term is up, everybody's putting their hat in to see who's going to be the next Fed chairman.
Yeah.
So it is you've got two ends of the street. People who think rates are should go lower, or be priced at where they are. So what I'm seeing as an investor and who runs a hedge fund and have clients all over the world, I will tell you this. When there's inflation, it doesn't go down in a day.
Yeah.
Or a quarter, okay? It takes time. And I believe that they will eventually cut interest rates, but it's already priced in. That's the hardest part about the market. It's anticipating and forecasting what something will do in the future.
Yeah, and finally, before I let you go, when it comes to U.S. economic data, so you were talking about the names that are being thrown into the circle when it comes to the Fed chair, and there's also focus on economic data and leadership at institutions that produce data for the U.S. So in terms of accuracy of U.S. economic data, do you think there will be more reliance on, say, private sector data moving forward?
Well, that's first of all, that's a tough question. Okay. And my thought process is as follows. Economic numbers that come out already happened in the past, and they could always be readjusted. Okay, so there's so many factors in the mathematics of that, right? It's all about the sentiment and what the public believes, where Main Street meets Wall Street. And the little guy, all right, doesn't get pushed out. And what you're seeing is the little guy wants in.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, when you're separating all the noise from signal, what does that look like?
It looks exactly like this. Markets will come off. Okay, there could be a nice little retracement, and you should invest wisely by buying high quality assets. There's a reason why Buffett bought United Healthcare. He waited in Tepper. It's all about the buy of when you get in.
Well, we know that timing is key, but the longer time horizon you have, the better it is. So, Steve, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Always, Remy. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Take care.